Now, when it comes to collective finance, you've read the white paper, you've done your research, watched the AMAs, and yet you still have a couple questions. You know what? So did I. I'm Serenity. I want to welcome you to Down Home Crypto. Now, in this episode, like you, I was ready for the pre-sale in just a couple days here, but I had some of those pesky questions, and more importantly, I wanted to see what it looked like under the hood. That's exactly what we're going to do here today. But first, if you would, please do me a huge favor. If you're finding this information helpful or educational, go out there and share it with a friend, a family member, a coworker. Let them know they don't have to be college educated or rich or tech savvy. They simply need a desire to change their life and encourage to follow that dream. And they too can join us on this great crypto adventure. So without further ado, let's go take collective finance for a test drive. Now, before we get into this, there's three things I absolutely have to tell you to keep my honesty and transparency. Number one, this is a sponsored video. Number two, I will always give you my honest opinion. So whatever you see in me from my reactions, my perceptions, those are mine and they are genuine. And number three, never take my word for it. Never take anybody else's word for it. Do your own research because only you are truly accountable for your own decisions. So to get those hard answers, I had to reach out to the collective team and invite them here today. So, hello, team. Welcome, guys.
Hello, hello.
Hey.
Thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate it. So if you would, real quick, for anybody who doesn't know what collective finance is and who you guys are, if you would give us like a 5,000-foot overview and just a quick introduction of yourselves.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Chrome, also known as Monkey in the space, also known as Jacob. I'm kind of the head of operations and the social media, the community and stuff. And yeah, excited for this.
Hi, everybody. My name's Doc, otherwise known as Brian. I'm one of the four founders as well. I'm really in charge of, protocol direction, oversight, and investor relations. So looking forward to being here. Thanks for having us, Serenity.
Hey, everybody. It's Cryptzom here. My real name is Zach. You'll see me in the space. Been around for quite some time now. I look forward to filling everybody in about what collective finance has to offer and what we have to offer as a team.
So collective finance is a protocol, decentralized finance protocol. It's going to be launching on the Binance Smart Chain that really focuses around earning safe, recurring yield on commodity representations, and specifically gold, silver, and diamonds. And these are all not only backed, but actually over-collateralized and serve as the backbone of collective finance in our protocol.
Okay. So now if anybody has questions, you want to know more, definitely check out my channel. I'll put links in the description down below where we've done a deep dive into collective finance. We've done a deep dive into the team, and you can really get to know the whole story behind these guys. And it's an amazing group. So this is why I really want to get into this. But I'm at that point in time in my life. The pre-sale's here in about 4 or 5 days, and I think I'm ready to jump in. But I really got down to those little fine questions, and I needed some hard answers that I know the only people to get that from was you guys. So thank you for giving us your time here today.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So I'm just going to start diving in, and I'm going to go through the whole flow because this is for me. Now, anybody watching this, I really hope this helps. But as always, don't just listen to me. This is really for kind of my journey, but I want to take you guys along with me. And if you think this is something you're interested in and I don't ask a question, definitely jump in the Discord, talk to these guys. They will answer anything. And as you will see here shortly, they're going to answer everything I've got. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first question I got is about the NFTs. Okay, so on the two NFTs, now we've got the Angel NFT, and then we've got the Presale NFT. Now, what is the difference to those? Because it looks like the Angel NFT gets rewards from all the different C tokens, not just C Gold, but the Presale gets only the C Gold. Is that correct, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So the main difference is that exactly what you said, that Angel NFTs specifically that are given to Angel participants and investors are going to be earning rewards throughout the life of collective finance in all of the C tokens. And the C tokens are the over-collateralized commodity representations.
If I can comment too on the Presale NFT, we talked about the Angel NFT. Those are going to be our most exclusive NFTs, and really our seed round has already ended. The next focus is going to be on the Presale NFT, which is actually our GLD NFT. So participants who hold one of these Presale NFTs are not only going to get rewarded in CLF tokens, but also gold tokens as well.
Right off the bat, I want to find out if I get into the pre-sale now, how do I get that token, or how do I get this NFT? Is that something that when I sign up for it, it automatically sent to me? Is that airdropped over a certain time? How exactly am I going to get this NFT?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have a little bit of specifics into that. So for participants in the presale to acquire the presale NFT, you're going to have to enter the presale with at least $1,000, and it'll be one presale NFT per $1,000, meaning if you put in 2,000, it would be 2 NFTs. But to receive these NFTs, you have to lock your entire position that you receive from the presale into the collective finance lock staking platform, whether that be the 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, or 180-day. You just have to take your position that you receive and lock all of it. It has to be all of it. It can't be less. It has to be all or more.
Okay, and there is no time frame on that. It's any one of those tiered, the 30, 60, or 90 days, right?
Yeah, so it just has to be any one of the tiers. It's easier for us to check that. So any one of the tiers, you just have to lock that position. And yeah, you have to get it done within a certain amount of time as well.
However, we can add on to that. If there's extenuating circumstances, somebody goes out of town, something happens, all you have to do is reach out to the team. If you do lock, and even if it's after that time frame, we're still going to gladly give you your NFT, right? The idea behind this is that we want the NFTs in our best participants' hands more than anything else. So we want to avoid people getting into the pre-sale just to get the NFT and then, essentially dumping their other tokens. So this will put the pre-sale NFT in our best hands, best holders.
Perfect. Okay, and that's good to know because, yeah, some people have lives and they're not going to be there right at that little window of time. So I want to make sure that that's always an option there. Now, once they do lock this in and they get the NFT, now, I know the NFTs actually get paid out in rewards. Now, will those rewards start at the time they get that NFT, or how does that work as far as the rewards from the NFT holders?
So there's probably going to be just a slight delay. It's not going to be the first day that we put out these NFTs, but we foresee rewards with those probably within a few weeks. We actually have a plan for this. Specifically with regard to the initiation of the NFT rewards. I don't think we want to go through exactly what we're going to do, but no, the idea is going to be that the rewards will start shortly after the NFTs are distributed, within a week or two, ideally.
And how are the rewards from these NFTs going to get paid? Is that something through the dAapp or direct airdrop to the wallet, or how's that play out?
I think it'll be one of two ways. It'll either be airdrop rewards or you'll have to stake the NFT on the dAapp. I believe it'll be easier for us to do airdrop rewards, though we cannot confirm one or the other 100% right now.
Okay.
And I think from the start, it's going to be airdrop with that. There may be a transition in the future, right? But at first, the NFTs will be airdropped, and then the rewards can be airdropped as well.
Okay. And I know some of these questions are looking more in the future, and there may not be a cemented in place as of yet because, of course, we haven't launched yet. So I do realize that, but these are the kind of questions I come up with. It's like, okay, how's this going to work? How's that going to work? So I figure you guys are the best people to ask because I couldn't find on the white paper. I've done my due diligence, but there's just those little things like, okay, we got to know. So I appreciate you guys sharing this information with us. It's great.
No, these are great questions, and there's certain things, everybody may not know, but an airdrop, although maybe not as sexy and as appealing, is really easier to execute. Whereas maybe having something on the dAapp, which is great and it's fantastic for interaction, is a little more complex and takes a little longer to institute, right? So sometimes the answer isn't a simple yes and no when it comes to these things. It may be one way to start and transition another way. Okay.
Sounds good. And that's a great answer. As we know, yeah, DeFi is always changing and we have to be fluid. We can't be stagnant. Otherwise, yeah, that's not DeFi. It moves way too fast. Okay, so let me ask you guys, when I go to participate in the presale, what do I need to get started on this? Because, I mean, we know the market's kind of crazy. So what do I have to be prepared in this 4 days and 15 hours?
Perfect. Yeah, I'll take this one. So in order to participate into the presale, you're going to have to enter into our dAapp. And then when you enter into our dAapp, you're actually going to have to be able to pledge a minimum of 50, either BUSD or USDT into our dAapp to enter the presale.
Okay. And is that dAapp going to be right here on the website, or is that something that we can look at now, or is it even up yet?
We'll have a link for it. We do currently have a dAapp. It's not completely linked yet, but it will be ready for the presale, and links will be provided with an announcement when that's ready.
Okay, sounds good. And now once I put my 50 to 1,000 or whatever amount I'm going to put in, I'm really trying for 1,000 to get one of these NFTs because I think that's an awesome long-term play. I mean, how's this going to work so I can go through the lock stake process? Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something that's pretty cool and unique with the Vertek Dex. Is actually something that we're really proud about, and that we're going to be giving back liquidity positions. So the liquidity position will be CLF and Bitcoin B, so wrapped Bitcoin on Binance, and it will be airdropped to the participants. So to explain this in detail, kind of how it works is when the pre-sale is finished, we're going to be collecting the funds. It will be going to our Treasury, the wallet, which is posted on the website, on the white paper and in the Discord. And then we will be forming the liquidity within the Gnosis safe. From there, we can use a nice airdrop function within the Gnosis safe, and from there, it will be airdropped to all of the participants.
Oh, I was just going to say, just to add to what Chrome was saying, we think this is a really, really big deal because, and yeah, you were going to say Serenity, you're going to actually receive a liquidity position receipt, right? So when you get that back in your wallet, you own that liquidity already. This is going to be a really big deal for participants. Normal liquidity, whenever it launches, is largely a PLL position, right? So the PLL basically gets to gobble up all those rewards from start to trading fees and everything there. For us, it's going to be different. That's going to really be in the community's hands. So from jump, they're going to be able to participate. It's going to also make it much easier to stake and then turn that position into xCLF. And it will cost participants less gas. It'll be less steps. So we're just trying to make it as easy for everybody as possible. And I would say give them as many options as possible.
Sounds good. So we're actually going to receive a liquidity position, but that's not the xCLF token. What do I have to do to take my liquidity position to the xCLF position?
Yeah, good question. So basically, when you have your liquidity position, you'll want to go to the Vertek Dex like we're looking at right now, and you'll go find our core pool. And it'll be the CLF wrapped Bitcoin, which is Bitcoin BTCB. So CLF BTCB pool. And you can stake that liquidity position. From there, you'll receive a gauge token, and I think it's called a receipt or a gauge token. And from there, you take that receipt or gauge, and you will go to the Collective Finance dApp, and you'll lock it within the one of 4 lock staking tiers, which is the 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, or 180-day. Doing so will then create the xCLF, which is actually an NFT, which will represent your stake.
Okay, I think I got all that. Let me make sure I've got this handled here, and we'll kind of walk through this, just make sure I'm really getting it. So once I get my liquidity pool, I'm going to go and say like one of these pools, let's say here, for instance, and this is where I would actually invest and then put my liquidity position into here. Is that correct?
Yes. Now, and actually, what's going to happen for our participants is you're going to already have that liquidity position, right? You're not going to have to create more. So actually, Serenity, if you close out of that window where you would go, you would already have that. So you would there would be a stake option there for you, right? And if you go into one of those pools, then it's not that single staking there. It's actually under the Earn tab, I believe. And then if you go into one of the pools, exactly.
There you go.
Okay, this is perfect.
Okay,
So what you're going to see whenever our participants, you're not going to need to go to provide liquidity because you're on the left side of the screen because you're already going to have that liquidity. You can immediately jump into that stake. And then once you stake, you will then receive a gauge receipt, just like Chrome said, right? And that gauge receipt is what you will lock to create xCLF. And to everybody paying attention, we're going to have a live video, and Serenity will be doing this with all of us too. So stay tuned in the future.
And I want to add to that too. Up on top there, Serenity, if you click out of the gauge there, now if you look above the invest withdrawal, there it says, what's it say there? Provide liquidity. Above there, when you have like a VPT or a pool token, a liquidity position available in your wallet, there will be a black, like outlined white by white, kind of like a square, just like the invest and withdrawal button, but it'll be quite longer. And then it'll show the amount that you actually have to be able to then stake.
Okay.
That's a great point, Crip. And it's actually awesome. The DEX is set up that if you have a liquidity position, but you don't have it staked, that message, just like Cripsom said, pops up. So it reminds you. So whenever our participants, when they go to our liquidity pool page, they'll be able to see that sitting there. They're also going to be able to see the just the yield that they're in return they're going to get just from staking that. So remember, we provide this multi-layered yield, right? You're going to be able to do mining, then you're going to be able to do staking, then you're going to be able to do liquid lock staking. So you add all those layers of yield together. That's what people are getting back.
Okay. And yeah, that's something I definitely want to get into is those different layers, because even in all of my research, I'm not sure I've got a full solid grasp. And that's why I wanted to get you guys in here on this. So no, this is great information. I love it. Okay. So my next question is, since this is being staked on the Vertek Dex, now, is this liquidity position going to earn the Volta tokens, or is that only within that one particular pool? How's that going to work? And can we use Volta to vote for the CL token?
You guys mind if I take this one?
No, go ahead, Doc. That's great.
So whenever you have your liquidity position, your CLF and wrap Bitcoin, and then you stake that, you're going to earn dual rewards right there. You're going to earn the CLF token, and then you're going to earn the VRTK token, which is the native DEX token, right? So just by staking it there, you're going to start earning those rewards. Now, the CLF rewards will not be nearly as robust as whenever you lock stake, right? But you're going to get dual token rewards off the jump just by staking.
Gotcha. Okay. And now I put some in here because I wanted to know how Vertek was running. So let's take a look and see if some of this you can kind of walk us through it. So this is Shield of Signerage. I put a little in there, and so it's got this great big black bar. Now, is this what you were talking about here, Zach? That you have so much work? Okay. And so it'll look just like this for collective finance.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's exactly correct. You'll see the amount of liquidity you'll have and everything. And then you can either then, the best thing to do at that point, not financial advice by any means, but what I personally would do would then go stake and earn those rewards, because that's going to be the best way to be able to get access to that.
Yeah, the immediate too. And remember this too, people need to understand, whenever they take this position and lock it, they're still getting all those rewards because their token is staked there, right? And then when you look in that little sort of rectangle on the left side of the screen, it's amazing. It gives you all the metrics that you need, your percentage of the liquidity position, the APR range of the tokens that you're going to get. And that APR range is going to change based on if you have a Volta position or not. And I don't know how much we would dive into that rabbit hole now, but let's just say that's the governance voting, right? And votes can be pushed towards individual pools to increase the rewards and the yield. And collective finance pools are set up to be core pools. And we have significant voting power that we will be directing towards our own pools.
And just to clarify, that's the voting governance within Vertek and not CLF.
Correct.
So
Correct.
the voting governance within Vertek itself with the Volta position allows you to boost your yields as well as vote for the pools to shift emissions.
Okay, and that's good to know the difference between the collective governance token and then the Vertek governance. They are not the same. They are actually two separate entities, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so for my next question, so now once I get my LP token and I stake it in the Vertek Dex, now what am I going to get, and how do I go to lock stake that on the collective dApp? How's that all going to work?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's essentially the same thing as when you create liquidity and you receive a token back that represents your liquidity position. So when you stake your liquidity, you actually get another token back to you, which represents that staked liquidity position. It's kind of like another LP token, but it's a receipt. You then stake that receipt and lock it within the collective finance dApp in one of the 4 different tiers, which will then mint and create an NFT, which represents your xCLF stake.
Okay, so I'm actually going to have to, once I do my stake, I need to go into my MetaMask and add that contract address to see that coin, then take that over to the dApp, or is the dApp already going to know it's there? Or do I have to go through all those steps?
You do not have to add it to your wallet. That's just if you want to be able to see the exact position in your wallet, but it'll always be there. So after you're done staking on the DEX, you get the receipt token back. You just head over to the Collective Finance dApp, connect your wallet there. It'll show and it'll see that you have what it needs, and then you can go ahead and lock and stake it.
Now, let me ask you, once you get that token from staking here, do you have to lock stake all of it, or how's that going to play? I mean, is it like, oh, I only want to lock stake half of it? Don't ask me why you would, but let's say somebody did. Could they mess up and only lock stake part of it or something like that, and could that cause problems?
So no, there wouldn't be any problems or mistakes. It's totally going to be up to a participant how much they would like to lock. I think Doc has brought this up in the past before about kind of diversifying your portfolio in a way where you can put you could take part of the liquidity or the receipt token, lock it in the 30-day, lock it in the 60-day, lock it in the 90-day, and lock it in the 180-day. So you could split it up totally evenly. You could put a little bit here, a little bit there. It's not going to matter.
Sorry, Randy. I was going to say the other important thing is for people to know, you don't to stake just your liquidity position. That's not going to require locking, right? Now you will just get you'll get the, I say just, but you'll get CLF and VRTK rewards. However, in order to get the most robust rewards, right, for higher CLF, stable coins, the gold tokens or C tokens, as well as potentially Bitcoin, that's when you're going to have to lock your staked position to create xCLF. So, but you are not forced to do that, right? Just like if you make liquidity, you're not forced to stake it. It just probably wouldn't make much financial sense not to.
But now, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's say I buy in for $1,000 and I get my liquidity token there, and then I move over to the Collective Finance dApp. So to get the NFT, I have to stake at least $1,000 worth to get my NFT. Is that correct?
That is 100% correct. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, but I can do that in different tiers.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And it doesn't, you can do it, and it doesn't matter what tier. You could do it all in the 30-day tier. You could split it evenly across them. It doesn't matter how you do it. The important thing is that you lock that position, your pre-sale position.
Yeah, just to clarify, it has to be the entire position that you receive back from participating in the pre-sale. Whether that be split up between the tiers, it just has to all go into the xCLF ecosystem.
So it has to be locked to get my NFT. So good safety tip. Okay. I can't hold half of it aside and just wait for it to pump up. Okay.
No. Good question, though.
So let me ask, just for security aspects. So if somebody takes their liquidity position on the Vertek dApp, they get that receipt, and then they go over to the Collective dApp and they lock stake that. What is stopping them from taking that liquidity position out of the Vertek, selling that while their lock stake still exists? Is there security issues, or how are you guys fighting that?
So I believe the way that it works is that you actually need that receipt token to be able to pull the liquidity out of the Vertek Dex and get your liquidity position itself back. You're going to actually need that receipt token. And so if it's locked within the xCLF, it's locked.
Okay, so it's kind of like valet parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like Chrome said, so that receipt represents that position, right? So you cannot remove your liquidity without that receipt. And essentially what you have to do is break that receipt right after you pull it out to remove your liquidity. So if that receipt is locked up, that liquidity is thus locked by default.
Sounds good. And now next question is, I know the Vertek runs very much on the Epoch timeframes and stuff. And then you've got the dAapp that's running on, or the Collective dAapp that's running on its own time frame as far as the rewards, things like that. So how do those correlate as far as the timers? Is there any conflict that could exist to where, let's say I pull out my position, but the Epoch hasn't happened yet, so I can't pull it out of there? Or, I mean, is there any problems we have to worry about as far as moving liquidity back and forth as our timers expire?
Yeah, I'll take this one. The answer is no on this, because when Collective Finance and Vertek are different, right? And really what Vertek focuses their epochs around is the Volta and its rewards, right? Staking rewards in Vertek just come like any other DEX. You know, they basically drip in over time. It's really the epochs are important if you have a Volta position more than anything else. So with regard to our Collective Finance lock staking, the epoch should make zero difference.
Perfect. Okay, good to know. Okay, guys, so I think I got a pretty solid handle on how to get into the pre-sale and go to the Vertek, get my liquidity position, and move over, lock, stake that. But really the question I've got is, why do I need to worry about the pre-sale? Short of getting an NFT, which I want to do, but let's say I only had $50. why would it be good to get into the pre-sale versus waiting 30 days? Let's see what happens. What's the perception there?
Yeah, it's a great question. So one of the things is that this will be one of the only times that you can acquire the CLF token and actually a liquidity position at a discount, at a 10% discount. So it kind of saves you a little bit of a hassle from either having to face the selling tax, or have to pair with fresh Bitcoin to create liquidity. And yeah, it saves you a lot of the hassle. It's going to be one of the only times that you can get a good premium, as well as be receiving the liquidity back and ready to go into the ecosystem.
Yeah, just to add on to that real quick, receiving that liquidity back from the start is really important, because that's going to be when the most volume is going to be, most likely, right from the start, the most trading fees and things. So if you want to be in there from jump and you want to get in at a discount, which is what we say a premium, now's the time to do it in the pre-sale.
Okay, so it's not just the NFTs we're after. There's actually a 10% discount on this. Good to know. Okay, I got to save up some pennies real quick. Okay, guys, so I think we've covered all the pre-sale information, got all my questions answered there. Feeling very confident about that. Now the next question is moving on into the dAapp and the revenue streams. And that's where I really want to dive deep, because there's not a lot of information out there. Now, special thanks to these guys, because they're going to let us see right here, right now, an alpha glimpse of the dAapp. You guys want to take a tour? Let's dive into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So first, I want to let everybody know this is a buildup of the dAapp, but none of the information on here is accurate as of yet for numbers. So please ignore those. This is an alpha version. This is the only place anywhere you are going to see what the Collective Finance dAapp looks like. So guys, thank you so much for sharing this super exciting stuff here.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Okay, so let's run through this real quick. So right here, I'm looking at the opening screen. So tell me about this. What exactly is this screen for, and how are we going to interact with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is where pre-sale participants are going to come, and it's where they're going to deposit their either BUSD or USDT on BSC. You'll be able to select how much you want to put in, and there'll be, I believe we'll have a deposit history at the bottom, so you can see exactly what you've put in already, as well as what you're going to be receiving. There'll also be information on how much is raised currently, what's the hard cap, what's the soft cap. Basically everything you could need will be right there on this simple little page. And yeah, it's good to note that though, when coming in, depending on the token, BUSD or USDT, you'll have to make an approved transaction first, then you'll be able to stake.
Yeah. Okay. It's important to note here that this is where people are going to come to do this. Our pre-sale will be live on our dAapp. The contract's actually done. It's being audited right now as we speak. But when you come in and you want to participate in the pre-sale, this is where you're going to come, and this is how you're going to do it right there. And then as Chrome said, all of the metrics will be shown there as well. It will look a little different than it does right now, but the total amount raised, your amount that you've participated as well as your history, all that will be readily available. But yeah, the bottom line is, if you want to participate in the pre-sale, this is where it's going to happen.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so once we buy our pre-sale here, now that's when the LP token is going to be airdropped to us. Now, at the launch, this screen is going to go totally away. Is that correct?
Most likely, yes.
Okay, sounds good. So now once we get that liquidity token, that's when we're going to take it over into the Vertek and stake it.
Correct, yeah. So that's where after the pre-sale, you're going to be airdropped your liquidity position token. That's when you're going to head over to the Vertek Dex, find our pool, stake it within the pool. That's when you receive the gauge token, and then you'll be coming back to the Collective Finance dAapp, in which you can click onto the locked staking section. And yeah, so this is the general front page. Obviously, as we mentioned before, some stuff is going to get changed around. This is just an alpha in progress version, so don't take everything as it is now, because there 100% will be changes. So from here, you'll be able to kind of select and choose which tier you want to lock in, and then input the amount you want to lock, and then proceed to lock it. The slider right there is a little bit messed up right now. It doesn't accurately show the correct times, but it will be 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, and then 180-day. So those will be the 4 different tiers, and then you can actually stake within each separate tier on its own. You can have different positions within each different one. So if you scroll down a little bit, you can see this is kind of where you'll be able to view your positions and your stake, how much you're earning. Essentially, this will be kind of like a mini little dashboard for earnings, my investment type page. And yeah, so this is where you can kind of monitor, see what's going on. And yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And so it gives you the start date as well as the unlock date, which is great to know. Once that unlocks, what exactly do we do with that stake position after it unlocks? Is that going to return us our tokens, or do we take our NFT? How is that going to work to get the rewards out?
So this is something we have to do a lot of testing to make sure that we understand all the functions 100% correct, which it's going to be going in a testing phase very, very quickly. So that's something we cannot confirm 100%, though I do believe the way it will function is that your NFT will, because creating xCLF and locking the position creates an NFT that represents your stake. I believe once the timer's over, it will actually burn that NFT and return your liquidity, the stake liquidity position back to you.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, imagine the NFT that we call it with regard to xCLF. It's a wrapper around your information, right? So, and basically once the lock timer expires, that wrapper goes away, right? And the NFT portion is destroyed, like Chrome says, and then you're left with that staked position. Now, at that point, participants, they can do whatever they want. You can choose to relock it, right, if you wanted to, or you could extend the timer before it locks. You could also just leave it in the staked portion, right, and still earn a little bit of yield. Or you could break that LP and have individual CLF or Bitcoin or any sort of combination thereof that you wanted to. I think one of the important things to note though here is that what we've developed with xCLF and sort of wrapping that information like an NFT is we've developed a secondary market for that, right? So what traditionally would be a locked position, just purely locked, now is actually transitioned, and we're going to create a market of its own. And those will be able to be bought and sold on the NFT marketplace, right, on the DEX. So it's a really interesting thing that your locked position then becomes somewhat liquid within its own market, right? This is much more appealing than, hey, I'm just locked for 60 days or 180 days, whatever it may be, right? Now, you might have to sell your position for 90 or 95 cents on the dollar. But again, it creates its own market all up to itself, similar to almost what like arbitrage creates, right? And we think that's a really, really unique feature of xCLF that isn't out there for a lot of other locked positions.
Now, the dApp here, then, it's going to look at the NFT that's in the wallet, not the wallet address itself on the locked stake then.
Bingo, you got it. Exactly. That's really the big thing. Now, that's not going to be, it's going to be transferable in its NFT form, right? Which is wrapping the position. But it's still locked. That's the important thing to know. That lock would transfer with wherever it goes. So if you're going to go, say somebody wants to get out of they're in a 60-day tier, right? And there's about 29 days left, but they want to get out of that position. They need the money, for whatever reason, right? And they put that on there. You're going to be able to determine, okay, well, the liquidity position is worth X value. The emissions from this are going to be worth X value. Here's what I'm going to pay, right? Now, if that person is selling that for 90 cents on the dollar, right, it might be a potentially smart play to gobble that up, right? And it wouldn't make a difference if you already had one of the positions in that 60-day tier. You could have this one and they would be separate, right? So it's a really, really neat dynamic. And the marketplace for these to be sort of traded, let's call it, is going to be right on the Vertek Dex right there.
Okay. So now let me ask you something. So after you do the lock staking, and that's when you would get the NFT airdrop to you just briefly after that. Is there anything from stopping somebody from immediately selling that lock stake out and holding on that NFT? Is that still a possibility or a concern? Or
yeah, absolutely. They can absolutely do it. I don't think it's a concern at all, because you have to think, even when that position is being transferred, it's still locked liquidity and represents that. So it's not a harm to the protocol whatsoever, right? It's really it's a person-to-person transaction more than anything else. But remember, the information within that NFT, including the locked position, doesn't change. So it doesn't mean liquidity is being withdrawn. It doesn't hurt the protocol at all. It's just a transfer of that information and the rewards that go with it.
Okay, and that's great information because, yeah, I mean, especially with the way the market's going down right now, I mean, nobody knows what's going on. Somebody could buy into the pre-sale and they lock stake, and then 3 days later, it's like, oh my God, the sky's falling, and they got to do something quick. So I think that's great, the fact that they can do that without hurting the protocol and still make a decent profit versus losing like 70% I've seen in so many other protocols. So I think this is brilliant, guys. Great job on this.
Thank you. No, we appreciate it. And just so everybody knows, too, if you look at the white paper now, I'm not sure if we took it out yet, but we did have before this, this conceptually came to light. We had an emergency exit option there, right? And it was a huge tax. I mean, 60, 70%, I think. That's somewhat become obsolete at this point, right? Mm-hmm. Because now we've created a market on its own, and that's better for the participants because they're going to be able to get more value out of that position than they ever could have got with the emergency exit.
Absolutely. Now, I think this is great, guys. Okay, guys, so what else would you like to share on this alpha version of the dAapp to give us a glimpse of what we can expect?
One of the last things I don't know if we touched up on this yet, would be the governance.
Governance in our protocol is going to be through xCLF holders, right? So the people who actually lock, they're going to be the ones who vote on governance. So this is going to be really almost traditional where we're going to be able to put proposals on, and the xCLF holders are going to be able to vote on those proposals as well. So this is something that will be in development, right? But it just shows everybody we're taking this community governance serious, and this is where it will go down. And to participate in that governance, again, it's not holding CLF. You're going to have to be an xCLF holder to participate in our protocol's governance.
Okay, and the xCLF, that's your actual lock staked position, correct?
Correct. Yep, you got it. Exactly. That's the lock stake position that we went through previously.
Perfect. And now give me some ideas. What would you expect to see on the governance votes? I mean, where do you expect it to run in, say, the first month? What do you expect to see show up on this page?
Yeah. I'll start off with Grant. Maybe you can hop in.
Yeah, go ahead.
To be honest with you, within the first month, I don't think we're going to see a lot on this, right? We have a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross to make sure. And really the biggest thing is making sure that we have the machine running like we want. People are getting their rewards, right? The yield, that type of thing. So I would expect governance potentially to be implemented within, like, if you're talking business terms, a quarter. Right. And then I think it's going to be different types of proposals. So it could be things such as, okay, the Angels table made a recommendation about portfolio allocation, which we'll get into. Now we're going to take this to governance. Maybe it's a special bonus that we're going to pull a little bit of liquidity out of the CGLD pool or one of those and then give that away as reward. So it could be maybe it's hiring a different position, right? It could be a whole bunch of different things. We're going to try to put these towards the community based off of need more than anything else.
Yep. And I want to add to what Doc said too. Just so everybody understands how the governance is going to work, we've set up a really unique structure in our angel round, and we represented our participants in the angel round with something that we welcome the angels to, which is called the angels table. Now, at the angels table, they're basically going to, be able to then give us direct feedback on some of the proposals that we'll bring to them. And then we'll work with them directly. And once we come to an agreement between everybody and everybody's satisfied within the team and the angels table, then the governance can then vote on the rest.
And now, for those that don't know, now the Angel was the initial Angel seed round. It started where it was a minimum of $5,000. Now, let me ask you guys, if somebody's just now learning about collective finance and there's like, hey, great, I want to get it on the pre-sale, but I really want to get the Angel, is there still a slot open if somebody had that $5,000 and wanted to get into it? Is that something you guys could arrange?
Yeah, look, this is one of the things we tell everybody, reach out to us for sure. If people want to participate and they want to get in on collective finance, and especially if they have a larger appetite, for investment, then absolutely just reach out to us. We play all these situations in that we're fair to our current angels, right? Mm-hmm. And the ones who came in at first. But if somebody wants to get in and be part of that group, absolutely reach out to us and we can make arrangements.
Yeah,
perfect. That's great to know that you guys are always watching out for the community. And that's one reason why I like Collective, and I love the team because you guys are so rock solid and so transparent. For me, that's a huge benefit. So now it's time to get into some of the hard questions, because once I get into this, I really want to start getting some understanding of the revenues. Now, I've read through the white paper. I kind of understand there But I want to see what else we can kind of break it down. So if we could, let's just start diving into that. And I understand that there's some things you can't answer, some things we don't really know yet. Time will tell. But let's see what you can answer. So let's say with the vault. So now the vault is providing liquidity for the GLD tokens. What will it be paired with? How's that going to work?
Yeah, absolutely. And Serena, I don't know if you have access to the infographics or that page, but there's a pretty good one that we could bring up there and maybe sort of use as a guide. But the vault, when we talk about it, we look at the vault as really like one of the main backbones of collective finance. And think about the vault as the owner and the keeper and the creator of our C tokens or the commodity tokens, right? So the vault is going to hold all of the PAX G on the Ethereum network that is going to be used as the collateralization. And then the vault is also going to be what creates the C tokens, right? The most important thing from a revenue stream standpoint is, and this is something I don't think everybody sees with collective finance, but whenever we launch the initial CGLD, it's going to be USDT now, just because of everything that happened, but that position, that's going to be an entirely protocol-owned liquidity position. Right. So there's going to be there's a 2% in and 2% out for that pool instead of a tax. Right. So we're going to be able to benefit directly from those fees as a revenue source. And we actually get that revenue in liquidity tokens, which is a really neat feature of the DEX. So it'll help build that liquidity position even more. Plus, we get the dual emissions, right? There's going to be on that CGLD, USDT, CLF, and VRTK emissions, right? So that's how the vault will serve as a revenue stream, right? It's got an internal and what I would say an external component to it as well.
Sounds good. And now let me ask you, since it is a liquidity position, are you worried about impermanent loss or anything like that? Or what do you guys have set to where if something does go sideways, God forbid, what's in the system to keep that liquidity position safe?
Yep, great question. So this is one of the things that goes back to the DEX, and this is balancer V2 style. So one of the things in balancer, you can have weighted pools. So everything is not 50-50, right? So in our pools, it's going to be 80% of our C token and then 20% of the stable. What this is going to do, it's going to minimize impermanent loss on the commodity side, right? So that way it will mimic that price really almost to a T, if that makes sense, right? You don't have to worry because people are getting into those pools. They don't want a lot of impermanent loss on the exposure side to the commodity. So we're going to limit that, right? We also don't have to ever really worry about a bank run because, again, remember, all of that collateral is right there sitting on the Ethereum side. Since we own that whole protocol position, it would be very easy. Say people wanted to start cashing out their CGLD, it's no problem. We're able to add the stables into that to sort of equalize things out so that a bank run would be, we'd be left, collective finance would be left with 10%, right, after everybody got all of their money, just the way we have it set up. So that's probably a long-winded way of answering your question.
No, that's great. And that's one thing that, especially in today's market, I mean, nobody's really certain what's going on at bank run. I mean, all these stables are just getting unstable, as we know. But it's good to know that this is set up to withstand something like that because we have no idea what tomorrow holds. So, no, that's a great answer, and long-winded is what we want.
Well, thanks, my friend.
So now, out of the 3 revenue streams that are broken down here, let's take the vault, for instance. If you had to guess of all the rewards coming out, what percentage would you say the vault is going to supply to that main revenue return?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the biggest portion, to be honest with you, is probably going to come from the portfolio, which Kripsam will get into in a minute here for sure. But I would say if you rank them 1, 2, 3, Treasury portfolio, the vault, I would say the vault would come in second from a revenue stream right now. I think that has the potential to dramatically grow. But right now, I'd personally rank it number 2 out of those 3.
Okay, sounds good. Let's jump into the next one, the portfolio, because that's the one that I find the most interesting. As we know, with any DeFi project, if you stay within your own ecosystem, eventually you're going to bleed to death. I mean, you got to go outside of that ecosystem to get internal revenue, but a Ponzi scheme is not the way you want to go, and that is not the way to do it. It's just bringing in new money. It's got to have some type of flywheel effect that you put money out, it makes money, it returns it, and otherwise it's not going to survive. We've seen that countless times in DeFi. So the portfolio, now this is the part that goes out and talks about the external revenue streams. So can you tell us, are there any of these investments already up and going? What do these things look like? Give some hints on what we can expect to see from these.
Yeah, for those external revenue sources, that's what the portfolio basically represents. It's a collection of on-chain digital assets that are more focused on, outside the bubble that we're in currently, generating passive revenue from outside revenue streams. So we're focusing on heavily on this for the portfolio, and it's important to note that we don't have all the details of how it's going to be put together yet. We have already made some investments. Yes, we have, into a couple of different altcoins, and also into some trading bots. So yeah, there are things that are already happening, but I have to be somewhat reserved about what we're going to release yet, as our focus right now is clearly on the pre-sale. So hope that helps.
Okay. Yeah, it helps. Great. And because it's one of those, understanding where those are going helps all of us, I think. So how diversified is that portfolio as it stands right now?
I would say currently it's well diversified, actually, because these really unique bots that we've had access to, I believe, are going to be like a gatekeeper or a key that's going to open up some really unique opportunities for trades. That's all automated, which is so unique. And I'm not going to discuss who it is right this second, but I will say that between, trades that's happening within in a bot that is an AI bot, it's totally secure. It's safe. It's an amazing idea. And we're really excited to get this thing rolling and show everybody. But also with the different connections and the network that we have, you're going to see a range of different investments, because we are interconnected within not only DeFi, but basically the whole world. I would say we're really well connected with folks around the globe. And so, and I say that not lightly, because I have a lot of friends all over the place. And I would say that your network is your net worth. So I think that that's going to go, drive to home for collective finance.
And so by the sounds of it, these revenue streams are not just on chain, but there's actual real world businesses that you bridge that gap with.
Yes.
So even if the crypto world goes completely crazy, there's still going to be revenue from actual physical businesses, right?
So it's not real world physical businesses that's generating these revenue streams. It's the only gap between real world businesses and what we're representing is the fact that we run our own real world businesses, right?
Okay.
There's nothing like, as soon as we were to say that, we're investing in real world businesses, that's then a form of a security, because then you're generating revenue streams from, then they're going to want to know where is it at,
Right.
So
okay.
that's
what I want to make sure of.
Everything's on chain. So there's nothing that's, a real world revenue generating platform. So everything's on chain.
It's sort of a hard answer too, because let's say you're invested in a Bitcoin mining NFT or whatever. Well, they're doing something in the real world, right? There's computers and they need energy and all that, but the net revenue ends up being on chain. So
right.
I don't think that it's necessarily a cut and dry type of thing. But I agree with Crip 100%. The one thing, we're not talking oh yeah, cool, we're starting a car wash business and then we're going to take that revenue and it's going to get on chain and get to yield. That's what I think you get into problems.
Okay, so on these revenue streams that you're talking about, can you give us some ideas? You said you're investing in some already. Can you tell us what they are and how are they performing so far?
Yeah, okay, so I can cover a bit on this. Our first investments were into the Vertek Dex and into the Volta Position, which is then locked. And that's to start our position over there on the Vertek Dex, which, it's going to come hand in hand with everything, I promise. So, and the second investment was into Kyoto. And so Kyoto is a really unique protocol in the refi space. I believe in what they're doing, and I'm really excited to talk more about it in the future. But those two are our first investments. And as far as how they're doing great. I mean, the market is obviously not the greatest right now, but that doesn't really reflect kind of where we're at right now, because we're trying to build positions. And I would say with, those positions themselves are doing well. Kyoto isn't even launched yet. They launched June 30th. So right now it's just sitting in the Diamond Vault, collecting and rebasing until May. So I would say things are looking really, really good there. And then, as far as the other things that we have going on, like these bots, we'll be able to give up more of an update as things proceed here.
Okay, so out of these 3 revenue streams, I know I asked Doc this earlier, but I want to ask you, how do you feel that portfolio is going to stack up against the other 2 revenue streams? Is it going to be the big dog, or how do you see that's going to play out?
I would say it's a big position for collective finance ecosystem as far as passive revenue streams. Yes, it's very, very big part of the ecosystem. I can't necessarily give a percentage of how big that part plays, but I can tell you it's going to be playing a big role in the ecosystem, and we look forward to being able to roll out more announcements on what we have coming.
Okay, so the last revenue stream we've got left is the Treasury. Now, the Treasury is protocol-owned liquidity. Now, what does that mean? How does that benefit? How does that work? Give us some insight here. Let us know what's under the hood.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Treasury is probably the easiest to understand, I would say, out of all of them, because it's the closest to a traditional DeFi protocol Treasury, right? So what does that mean? It means that it acts as like the protocol bank, number one, right? So it's going to be receiving emissions. It's going to be giving out rewards. It's also going to be the main holder of the protocol-owned liquidity, or POL, like you said. So what is POL, right? Protocol-owned liquidity is exactly like it sounds. It's a liquidity position that is owned by the protocol. How does this turn into a revenue stream? Well, we're able to take part of that liquidity position and turn it into xCLF in the different tiers, right? So that the protocol-owned liquidity, part of it will be locked through the lock staking program. Then we'll leave some of it accessible as well if we need to use it. But in that sense, it will be an internal revenue stream, essentially, more than anything else, whereas the portfolio is an outside revenue stream. And I would say the vault is a mix between the two.
Okay, so you're pretty much covering all 3 bases, and inside, kind of the cross the line, and then the outside, and they're all bridged together. Now, something that I found really unique with these revenue streams is they're not just paying straight down to returns. They're actually bolstering each other. Now, why is that important? How did you get that to work, and why is that something that I should be excited about?
Yeah, absolutely. And Crip, I'll take this one. You can jump in, but it's a few things. Number one, it's the reward system that we have set up with xCLF, right? And I think we already talked about this briefly, but you're not just going to be getting the CLF token, right? Sort of this rewards token or a more volatile token. You're also going to be getting the stables. You're also going to be getting gold. And then ideally, we're going to try to work it out where you get some wrapped Bitcoin too. What does this mean? This means it gives participants the ultimate way to sort of, for lack of being redundant, participate how they want, right? Mm-hmm. They can take profit in multiple different ways. They can compound their position. They can do a little bit of both, right? So that's why it's so important that our reward system is set up to be that way, because it gives participants the opportunity to do what they want. And everyone's answer might be a little bit different, but they don't have to go sell the CLF token to make more liquidity. If they want to go straight and provide some liquidity for their in the gold LP pool, they can, all with the rewards that they're getting, right? So we feel that's a key way that our protocol is set up. I think it also speaks to what our protocol is about. And when you have the portfolio, the treasury, and the vault, and you compare that to the tokens that we have within collective finance. So you have your really volatile token, potentially, in CLF, right? Could be your moonshot. Then you have the OG, right, in Bitcoin that you can always fall back on. Then we transition to gold, and then you have stables. So you get all this exposure wrapped into one, and it's sort of the definition of a diversified portfolio. So if you can give those same rewards that the exposure is providing, it's a pretty good setup.
Yeah, I'd like to add on it too. It's almost like, you're coming into the ecosystem and not having to do a bunch of legwork. Like we have really thought this out to take the legwork out of, the investors having to, go try to find all these different places to swap for these tokens. We understand that people want exposure to commodities, and something like, Bitcoin, it's driver for crypto. So, you get exposure to a lot of things within this ecosystem. And yeah, you could call them stable coins. I disagree at this point, but you do get exposure to some stable coins as well. I'm more bullish on gold, silver, and diamonds, but hence why we started Collective Finance. So I would say, it's really unique, and you'll see some things coming up here as well. We're working on some pretty cool stuff on the back end to try to help bridge Web 2 to Web 3, as we understand that there's a need to bring some of that Web 2 capital into Web 3, and it's a need, and people need to be able to understand what they're bringing their capital on for and what they're investing in. So we're going to focus heavily on trying to educate folks and make things as streamlined as possible.
Okay, so sounds like you're hinting at some bridging going on, or some type of text, something going. Can you give us some more information? Because you kind of hinted at something.
Well, I'll tell you one thing is that on the DEX, they're going to have their own bridge on the DEX, which is going to make things a lot easier as well. So that's going to be one way. But I can tell you, we are focusing on trying to make this easier as well and more streamlined, because we've had to deal with off-chain to on-chain. And I'm going to tell you, if you're doing less than $5,000, it's a breeze. Anything, it seems like anything on a higher capital standpoint, anywhere from, $500,000 million, that would be very, very difficult to get on chain. So we're trying to work with our network and figure out ways to make things easier, more streamlined.
I think we've gone through the revenue streams pretty well. Now let's go down to the bottom here, the reward section, because that's what all of us want to know about. So let's say I get in with $1,000 at the pre-sale, like I'm planning, if I can, scrape up enough pennies. But essentially, if I go in and I lock stake and I create my position, I have my NFT and I have that setting. Can you give me a rundown? How are these rewards going to be paid out? Like, what type of tokens are they going to be paid out? How often are they going to be paid out? Do I have to go and interact? How is that all going to work?
Yeah, sure. I'll run through this, and then Crip can hop in too. So we're looking at right now, rather than, it doesn't make sense to drip rewards out daily just from gas fees and things like that. So we're looking at basically a 2-week reward cycle, essentially, that we're going to basically drop those rewards. People will be able to go into the dAapp and then collect them. Right. The idea is going to be that from start, we're going to have the coffers a little bit full, so that we can start the rewards program early, so that we don't have to wait months or whatever it may be. We can start getting those out. Right. What type of rewards are you going to get? This is something we spoke about before, but we think it's critical to the protocol. So as an xCLF holder, you're going to get CLF tokens. You're going to be getting our C tokens. So at first that'll be CGLD, and then you'll also get exposure to the other ones when they come out. And then you're also going to get a stable coin, and we're trying to work in the wrap Bitcoin as well. So what that will mean is you will get those rewards in those 4 different tokens, and then they can be used however the participant would like. What's the percentage going to be between those rewards? We do not know right now, to be honest with you. And to be frank, it's probably going to change. If, say, it was a really good week or 2 weeks for the portfolio, maybe the stable portion's a little more. Maybe we decide to take some of that stables and actually create more C gold, so that could be a bigger portion in there as well, right? So those rewards will probably be varying with regard to their individual percentage and their overall percentage, I guess I would say.
I want to bring up a point too, about NFTs and the angel NFTs and the C gold NFTs. It's important to know that they're all going to be, they're going to be able to be tradable. So, if somebody decides to put one of those angel NFTs on the market, somebody else can come pick that up. And at that point, they'll get exposure to what that NFT represents within itself as far as rewards.
Okay. No, and that's good to know, because that's one thing, it's kind of like your locked position here. It sounds like the NFT, the rewards go with the NFTs, just like it does your locked stake position. If that transfers or sells or whatever, it's not the wallet that mints it or that locks it. It's actually whoever's holding that NFT or that position.
That's what's so nice and so unique about non-fungible tokens, is you can add so many features within them. It's like its own unique ecosystem within itself. It's very, very unique.
No, I think this gives us a pretty good in-depth coverage. All the way through, I pretty much know how to get into it. I know what to expect of revenue streams. I know what I'm getting out of it. And so I really appreciate the time. And guys, I want to give you guys the opportunity. If there's anything we haven't covered yet, let us know, please. Anything that you want to share, this is the time.
Yeah, absolutely. If I could, one thing in particular, and Cripsom and I were having a conversation about this with somebody in the server, and we've been asked about it on AMAs a few times, is the seed round and the angel round. And there's some concern that, hey, look, these tokens could be dumped and that type of thing. So I really want to address this once and for all on two factors. Cripsom and I have been big, heavy angel seed round investors in DeFi for a long time, and we've been involved in many different type of arrangements for this, right? So we've seen some of the problems that could have. Our seed round investment deal, or our angel arrangement, does not involve a massive bolus of free CLF tokens that can be dumped onto the market. Right? So our angel offer is great for the angels, and it's also really good for the protocol too, because it gives them for their commitment, right? It really gives back to them, but it's in a position where things are either locked and or vested. Right. So it's really important that people know that. And then beyond that, I think this is really important. There's a reason that we made the angels table. It's because we believe our angels are more important than just capital investment, right? It's intellectual, it's their network and everything like that too. We know all of our angels very, very well, right? And we don't have 1,000 of them, right? We have a few handfuls of them that they didn't get into collective finance to get the tokens and then dump them, right? These are folks who believe intrinsically in what we're doing. And I think our angel group is amazing, and that we're very fortunate and lucky to have who we do. So I just wanted to address that. That seems to be a concern to people about the pre-sale, but just know that it's not set up in that fashion, and that is not a concern that you have to have.
It's good to know. Thank you. Yeah, because that's one thing we've seen time and time again is the very first people in with the big bags, they're the first people out, and it wrecks it. So to know that the angels cannot do that, it's not built that way, that's a great peace of mind for a lot of people out there.
Not only is it not built that way, but like Doc said, we've been big seed investors and in the DeFi space. And we have a network of angel and seed investors that we're a part of. And we've learned a lot. And, a lot of our angels are part of that network. So we've been able to preserve and come together. It's almost like I almost consider them part of the team. The fact that they're just on the, they're there helping make decisions and helping guide things. And, it's so valuable to us and everybody and our investors as well, because I can tell you the angels that we have, they're not just like typical angels. I mean, they're very well educated. They're very smart. They are informative. Their community engagement is amazing. They're willing to help anybody. And I'm going to tell you, it's not because they're just going to coin and dump on you. No, that's not why. And I'll go to bat for these guys any day. And I'm telling you, man, it's just not how it's set up. So I can tell you, moving forward, I would be very, very shocked if I ever saw any of our angels try to dump tokens, because I know their track record, and it's not their integrity. It's just not.
And that's good to know, because that's one of those. It's almost like a rite of passage to become an angel. It sounds like there's more than, hey, you can't just buy your way in. You kind of got to be accepted in as part of the family. So I can tell you that I've talked to several of them in Discord, and I'm in there all the time. They seem like the nicest down-to-earth people, and you see the wings next to their name. I'm like, wow, that's an angel. That's pretty cool. They're talking to me, a little guy. I love it.
Yeah, and you think about it, like collective finance. I guess we could try to go some other route, but I don't believe it would be happening without this part of the protocol, without this part of our ecosystem having the angels, because it's so unique. They've helped us get going. They've helped us, you know, we came up with a lot of our capital at the beginning and we kicked this thing off. But, you know, these guys believed in us before pre-sale. You know, I mean, we're going to take care of these guys. They shook our hand as close as we could get to a handshake. So, I mean, hey, I'm going to take care of these guys just like everybody else that invests. Just because they came in a little bit early, it was public, it was known, and we made it known. And they made the decision, and, you know, it's part of it.
Absolutely. And just sort of one final thought on top of that, you know, we take this really, really seriously. This isn't just some weekend thing that we're trying to do. You know, myself, Cripsom, we have other businesses, we have wives, children, you know, things. So there's intrinsic risk that we have involved in this as well. It's how much we believe in collective finance. And it's not only our faces and our mouths behind this too, it's our own money, right? We're angels as well there too. So we take this all very, very seriously, and we hope everybody knows that. And we value the community, you know, more than anything. That's what's going to make collective finance go, the people that believe in us, right? So we take that really, really seriously.
Okay. And that's good to know. And so one thing I want to ask you, because, you know, I totally agree. The angels are solid. You guys are solid in the team and stuff. But let's say the little people. Now, we know that everybody wants to get an NFT, but not everybody can. Working class people that, you know, maybe they can only put $50 in and they jump in the Discord. You know, what can they expect to see dealing with you guys, dealing with the team, dealing with the angels? How do you expect to see them viewed as a different level of investor, or do you think they will be just as equal?
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling Cripson agrees with me on this one, but I see it every day. Everyone's treated like, if you took those wings away from the folks in our server, you wouldn't know who's an angel and who has $25 in their pocket, right? And we have been able to find ways for people that are really dedicated to collective finance and they believe in what they're doing. That's who we want involved, right? So we're able to find ways for them to participate more, to give them more upside and things. So if somebody shows their dedication and belief in us, you can guarantee it's going to be met the same way back.
Yeah.
Good to know. So no, and that's great. And that's one thing that so many projects are so worried about. How much money do you have to bring in? And that's one thing I love about Collective and I love about the team, the community is they're not about that. They're about, hey, how much do you believe in what we're going to build? And do you want to be a part of it? So, hey, come along. We're one big happy family. Everybody rows, everybody does it. And there's no, oh, he's superior and he's not. So I love the down to earth feeling, guys. Thank you so very much for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's why we like working with you. It's sort of naturally fun. So thank you, Serena.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Well, hey, if there's nothing else, I want to thank you guys so much for your time. I know it's been a long day and we've gone through a lot, but if anybody out there has any questions you didn't get your answers to here, jump in the Discord. I'll put a link in the description down below. You can talk to one of these 5 gentlemen or any of the angels or anybody in the community, and we will make sure we get you the answers if they're out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to leave it with this too. We're going to be doing some more work with Serenity, and especially once we launch. So all this stuff that we've gone through, he's going to take you right through it again, real time. So, and we'll be with him. So stay tuned because there's more to come.
Those buttons
Absolutely.
will be working then too.
And you know that if anybody can break something, I'm going to break it.
Good. We need it battle tested.
Oh, I'm good with that. All right, we're good. So, gentlemen, thank you again for your time, and everybody have a great night. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Serenity. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.